Yo and hello everybody, Mike here, baseball collector. It is Sunday afternoon. Man, I get excited about this video when I think about it. This is, if you want to say, where did Mike, your collection really start to take off? It's going to be talking around this set. I'm going to show you real quick what I'm talking about, and then I'll tell you more details. It's this set right here. The 300 Greatest Baseball Cards of the 20th Century by Mike Payne. So many guys talk about this. There are a lot of guys in the community that do this set. Ray from Philly, Joey Brings It, Waxpack Poetic, a newer YouTuber, is doing it, and I'm sure there are many others. But this really reinvigorated and got me really going with the hobby probably 8 to 9 years ago. I've done several videos on it. One I did back in 2015 where I talked about the 300 great baseball cards. One of the first videos I ever did. Please don't go watch it. But back in 2015, I did another video where I laid out the cards that I had at the time, doing a tabletop showcase. And that one is actually probably worth watching. I'll put a link down below to that if you want to go check them kind of all laid out. But what I'm going to do here is a little bit different because this set means so much to me. And I'm at this point where I'm getting pretty close. And what I mean by that is when I first started doing this set, I said, well, look, I'm never going to have a Honus Wagner or some of the other really, really old cards that are really, really expensive. And so let's just say I'm going to try to complete 1960 to 1999. And so that was kind of my first goal / purpose and pursuit. And as of right now, I am 5 cards away from completing that. And ironically, about half of the cards in the top 300 are pre-1960, and half of them are 60 and after. It's literally 151 pre-1960 and 149 after 1960. And so I thought, man, that's a good bifurcation of the set, and I can work on the more modern stuff that's actually attainable and try to see how far I can get on that. So again, I'm 5 cards away there. I'm getting one tomorrow that's a big card that'll make me only 4 away. And so what I thought I'd do to break up the set, because a lot of you guys have heard about it, you've seen the book shown, you've maybe seen other people's videos and my own talking about the set. And so what I'm going to do is break the set down into decades, and I'm going to work my way back. So somewhere around once a week, I'm going to do a showcase video where I just show all the cards from a particular decade, and I'm going to start with the 90s and work my way back. Now, 90s only has 25 cards, so of which I'm missing 3 of them, which I'll tell you what those are as we go through it. But as I get through this, I'm going to kind of work my way back, show you the different decades. Some of the decades have like 40 to 45 cards, so they'll be a little bit longer, but this one I'm just kind of explaining this idea and this series that's going to be happening on my channel over the next month or so, once a week. And I'm really excited to do it because, again, you may see a top 300 card every once in a while on my channel or someone else's, but to see them all kind of shown is, I think, going to be pretty fun. Now, the 90s brings up a point that I think a lot of people are curious about when they think about this idea of the top 300 cards of the 20th century, written by a guy named Mike Payne, worked at Beckett, may still actually work at Beckett. He also did the top 80 cards of the 80s that just came out earlier this year. So he has a knack kind of for creating these lists. And he wrote, this book was first written back in 1999. And so the cards that are included in this set, if you did it today, might not be included in the set, especially from the 90s. There are some players that in 1999, when he wrote this, were in the height of their career, certain to be greats of all time and all this stuff. Didn't work out that way. And so there's kind of this, I wonder, like curiosity, like why is that card included? But you got to remember the time in which it was written. Again, if you wrote it today, it might look different in terms of which cards would be included and which ones weren't. And remember, it only goes from 1900 to 1999, so there's nothing in the 2000s that would be included in this list. But it's absolutely, I think, just a great idea and concept and set to work on. I may not agree with every card that's in there, but I don't have to. And it doesn't mean I won't collect them. And so however you want to look at it, there are some just absolutely classic cards. So this set also, and this is a very interesting point for me in terms of a collector, is that prior to doing this set, I could have cared less about slabbed cards. And I was actually kind of like, I'm not even going to go down that road of investing in slabs. But when I started really investigating doing this set, I thought, man, there are so many cards that are vintage cards that I would be afraid, as a relative novice 8, 9, 10 years ago when I started this idea, I'd be afraid to buy them because I would be afraid of buying a fake. And so I thought, well, I'll just do it as in PSA slabs. In fact, first I said I'll just do it in a slab. And then I saw that there was a registry for it on PSA, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. That's it. That makes my decision easy. I'm going to use PSA for this entire thing. So that's kind of how I got down this road. I won't do this much of an explanation on every decade. I simply wanted to start it off this way so you kind of know where I'm coming from, get maybe a little bit more color into the top 300 cards and kind of what it means and why it's so important, not only to me, but a bunch of collectors that love doing this set. In the set registry, I'm currently, I think, 6th overall, and looking to continue to make my way onward and upward in that set. It's not easy anymore because the cards are not cheap, but again, I'm getting another one tomorrow. So there you go. Let's get into the 90s. We'll talk about the cards. I'll show you what's in there. I'll show you even the few that I don't have, and let's just have some fun with this. See you in a second. All right, here we go. Rolling through the 90s, the 25 cards that are in the top 300 baseball cards of the 20th century by Mike Payne. First thing I want to show you is right here. Here is a picture of a typical page in the book. It'll show 3 or 4 cards maybe on each page. And what I do with my book, which may sound weird, but you can't really tell, but I actually highlight if I have the card. So the 90 Leaf Sammy Sosa, for example, is highlighted. Frank Thomas, Bo Jackson, I have all 3 of these cards. You'll see in a second. And I write down what PSA grade on it I have. You know, the book's not like some collectible in of itself, so I don't really care. I just want to write. I love writing in it and looking through and seeing what cards I'm missing, things like that. And I also keep a pretty detailed list and spreadsheet for which cards I'm missing. So the first one up, let's get to that, is, and I'll do this as quickly as I can, the 1990 Leaf Frank Thomas. This is obviously one of Frank Thomas's first cards. It's great because 90 Leaf, 89 Upper Deck was game changing. 90 Leaf came along. This was their first year to create cards, and they kind of upped the game on the premium card issue. And so this is just was great to do it in the year of Frank Thomas's rookie. Another rookie that year was Sammy Sosa, another rookie card. Great card here of, again, this book was written in 99, so Sammy Sosa was kind of on top of the world. The 98 season had just happened, Sosa, McGuire, all of that. And so this was a big card in 1999 when this book was written. The next card is this one right here. I'll do it sideways because it's sideways. It's the 1990 score Bo Jackson. So we're still in the throes of the junk wax era, and I bought a ton of 1990 score, and I always loved pulling this card. I love on the back, it just says Bo. Card number 697. But to me, Bo Jackson for me was the greatest athlete I've ever seen, ever. If you didn't live through that time, it was amazing to watch this guy play baseball and football and how good he was at both, and could have been a football Hall of Famer and a baseball Hall of Famer had he not had injuries derail his career, but just amazing guy. Next card in the set is the 1990 Frank Thomas rookie card. What's great about this is that it's the regular card and not the no name on front, which is a variation of this card. Thankfully, they just put the regular one in because trying to get the no name on front is an expensive proposition. So great card here. I love it because it shows him in his Auburn uniform. My sister went to Auburn, so War Eagle. Very cool. Next up is another sideways card, and it's the 1990 Upper Deck Reggie Jackson autograph. It's a checklist card, and some people know, but not everybody knows, that this ushered in the era of the pack inserted autograph. Before this, never really happened, and so this is kind of the start of that. And they used Mr. October. These were numbered to 2,500. There was so much Upper Deck out there. Good luck pulling one if you just open a random box of Upper Deck. But there are hard to come by. These really, really are. And so this is one I picked up years ago. It was already in a blue flip PSA slab, and I crossed it over a year ago at the National. It came back a 6, but honestly, I'm just glad to have it. I'm not really that, over it. I mean, it's whatever. If I can upgrade it someday, great, but I'm not really looking to do that. So there you go. The first of its kind, a pack inserted autograph, Mr. October. Next up, we go into 91. We got the first card, a card of Chipper Jones, rookie card, 1991 Bowman. Great sweet swing that he's showing off there in a mint 9. Next up, you had Pudge Rodriguez, Ivan Rodriguez, 91 Bowman in a mint 9. Great card at that time, Pudge was incredibly young and eventual Hall of Famer for sure. Great, cool catching pose of him. And we've got the 1991 Stadium Club Jeff Bagwell in a mint 9. What's really cool is, in 1999, most of these guys were still playing. And so he actually did a pretty good job, Mr. Payne did, of picking cards that would be of Hall of Famers and kind of greats. And so actually he has a pretty high percentage of success if you look at this overall. Next up is the 91 Topps Chipper Jones. This one's in a gem mint 10. If you've been watching, you see that I'm a big, this is my first gem mint 10 that you've seen so far. And it's because back when I first started doing this, I had significantly less discretionary income. And so I could only afford 9s in these cards. And I've been slowly upgrading. Sometimes I'll get a 10, sometimes not. It just depends. To me, I'd rather spend that money. To go from a 9 from a 10 seems silly when I could spend that money on another card that I don't have at all. And so that's kind of where I've gotten with that. There's a gem mint 10 of Chipper. Oh, good job, Mike. Here is a gem mint 10 of the Ultra Update of Juan Gonzalez. Again, one of those players are like, why is he in there? But in 1999, Juan Gonzalez had just won an MVP in 98, 2 home run titles, 2 MVPs at that point. I mean, he was absolutely on track for a Hall of Fame career and really should be in the Hall of Fame, in my opinion. But there is his kind of extended rookie card. He had rookie cards really in 1990, but 91 Fleer Ultra was, again, another kind of step up in the premium card market. Then you've got, after 91 Bowman was kind of normal card stock, then 92 Bowman came out, and it was a game-changing set. There are so many great cards in this set. Trevor Hoffman rookie, Mariano Rivera rookie, Mike Piazza rookie here. Great card, mint 9 on that one. Great catching pose. I love the catcher's poses. They're just awesome. Then Fleer had an update set that year that also included Mike Piazza, and I have that card. That's in the top 300. There you go. Next up, another pack inserted autograph, 92 Score. So Upper Deck started doing it, 90, and then in 92 Score kind of got into threw their hat in the ring with the pack inserted autographs. This one's Joe DiMaggio. I got this last year at the National. Adjust the light a little bit. Was so excited to get it because it's not a hard card to come by, but it's one of those that I was just glad to finally get one. And this one came back a mint 9. It was already in a slab, but I wanted to cross it over to the dual service and just get it kind of reholdered. It was in a really, really, really old flip. So it came back a mint 9. The auto's a 10. And you're like, well, where's the autograph, Mike? Well, it's on the back. It's right there. So there are actually 5 of these. And I want to say there are 2,500 of each of the numbers, meaning there's, how many is that? 12,500 of them. But I don't know that. It might only be 500 of each one. That's very possible. I just can't remember right here doing this. But look at that beautiful Joe DiMaggio autograph. They're all on the back on these cards. The autos are. There you go. Great card. Next up, 1992 Topps traded Nomar Garciaparra. What's cool about this was a Team USA card, which I just think I love. The team, and back then Topps kind of sponsored Team USA. You can see it on the patch on Garciaparra's arm. And again, in '99, Garciaparra was in the middle of a Hall of Fame type career, and it was just one of the big three shortstops. You had Garciaparra, Jeter, and A-Rod in the late '90s, and it was just, and Tejada. You just had so many great shortstops in that time. That's why he's in there. And of course, as I was just saying, Mr. Jeter. Here is the 1993 SP foil. That blemish is actually on the case, not on the card. This is such a hard card to show off in any good light at all, because that foil is so hard to show off. But this is definitely one of those cards that has only just leaped and leaped in value. PSA 10s of this are, $70,000 to $90,000. So I'm just thrilled to have one in my collection, if I'm honest. There's the Jeter. So there was this basketball player that in the early 90s, you may or may not know, or mid 90s, he tried baseball out, and he decided to give up basketball, left basketball as the greatest player ever, and decided to give baseball a shot. And so he signed with the White Sox, and to take advantage of that, Upper Deck just started putting him in their different products any way they could. And this is one of the really cool looking cards from '94 Collector's Choice. The rookie class, you can see down there in the bottom right. What I love about it is Jordan is shooting a baseball like he would a basketball. I think that's just great. And even though his baseball career didn't really pan out, he went back to basketball and did all right, and won a few more championships for the Bulls. But I love that this card is inserted in there, actually, kind of the quirkiness of it, and very, very neat. A-Rod, 94 SP foil. Whether you like A-Rod or not, you have to admit he had a hell of a Major League Baseball career, and without a doubt should be in the Hall of Fame. In my humble opinion, he absolutely should be. PEDs or no PEDs, he's just has had an amazing career. His statistics are just off the chart crazy, and he should definitely be in the Hall of Fame. So there's the A-Rod card. Next up is the first of the three cards that I don't have, and that's this one right here, the 1994 Upper Deck King Griffey Jr. Mickey Mantle autograph. There's not a whole lot to say about this card because its awesomeness speaks for itself. To have a dual autograph of two of the greatest players, kind of crossing over generations. You have Mantle, 50s, 60s, and then you have Junior, who came up in the 90s, 2000s, and just brilliant by Upper Deck to put this together and make this work. And so these are not cheap. You're talking really $2,000 to $3,000 to get this card, which is why it's not in my collection. So there's that. But here we go, back to cards that are in my collection. This card here, 1996 Leaf Extended. Oops. Keep bumping my camera here, my iPad. But this card is great because it shows a beautiful Sammy Sosa autograph, pretty much taken up over the whole card. And remember, again, in '99, how big Sosa was in the hobby and in baseball. It cannot be understated. He and McGwire both together, saved baseball. And if you think that's not true, it's absolutely true after the strike of '94. And so this was a big card back then. It's not as big a card now. It's just harder to find. And I actually bought this raw. I submitted it this year at the National and got it back a few weeks ago. And it came back a mint 9, which I was thrilled about. The auto's streaky and only got an 8, but I really am just happy to have the card, period, and in a 9 is just fine. So here we go with the next one is 1996 Topps, number 7, Mickey Mantle. And Mantle was a huge figure in baseball cards, obviously, and when he passed away, it was a big deal. And so Mickey Mantle was commemorated in 1996 Topps, not only with this card, but they did a reprint of all of the cards he had had in Topps over the years. And this is not a hard card to get in Gem Mint 10 at all, but it's just a nice salute to the Mick and a great card that Mike Payne included in his top 300 set. The next card, again, is one I don't have, and it's right here, the 1997 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. game jersey card. So, in the early 90s, pack inserted autograph cards became all the rage. And what's the next evolution of that? Well, let's start cutting up jerseys and putting them on inside baseball cards and selling them that way. And that's the genesis of this card. It was one of the first, if not the first, game-used material card ever produced by Upper Deck in 97. And so this card, not cheap either. You're talking about $1,000 for a PSA 9 or something like that. And they're just really hard to find too. So someday I hope to add this, but for now you'll just look at that scan. All right, next up, 1998 Pacific in the Cage Mark McGwire in a near mint to mint 8. So this is just one of those cards that I thought when he included it, like, okay, but again, McGwire, a huge deal. And this was just a neat insert. It's kind of, Pacific started doing some innovative things in baseball cards where they would do die cuts, and this one actually has, there's little holes in the netting of the cage. And so they just started doing these really neat ideas and concepts with baseball cards, and they just produced tons of stuff back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And but this was a really cool card. Another McGwire is up next. 2 more to go, guys. 2 more to show, 3 more to talk about. The 1999 Topps Mark McGwire home run number 70, which of course at the time before Bonds was the home run record single season. If you were around and watched that happen, that home run chase that McGwire and Sosa did in 1998, you'll never forget it. It's a very indelible moment in the history of baseball. And I finally found this card in a 10. It is, or actually I bought it raw and sent it in and got a 10. So was just so excited because these don't come up a whole lot graded. And so I was just happy to have one, and there it is. The last 2 cards are each from the same set. The first one is this one right here, and it's a 1999 Upper Deck, A Piece of History 500 Club game used bat of Babe Ruth. And this card is insanely popular in the hobby. It started this whole idea of putting great, amazing bats and stuff and cutting them up and putting them in baseball cards. And Upper Deck over several years used this theme of this 500 home run club and they kept regardless of what product the cards were in, they kept that theme going and the same look on all the cards, and it's really, really beautiful, and they did a great job with that. So there is the Babe Ruth. The last card in the 90s is this one, and it's also from that same concept, and it's the Jimmy Fox 500 Home Run Club, A Piece of History card. This is just awesome. This was actually issued in Century Legends, which was another product. They just did them in different players in different sets. And this one's in a Beckett 9.5. I sent this in to cross over to PSA, and it came back in 6, minimum size required. So that really kind of pissed me off, and so I just left it in the Beckett slab. But I'm just thrilled to have it. It's a great card, and maybe someday I'll pick up a PSA one, but for now I'm happy to have that. So there you go, guys. That is the 90s for the top 300 cards of the 20th century by Mike Payne. Really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something and can really understand a little bit more in depth about what this set is about. Look forward to me doing the 80s, 70s, and 60s over the coming weeks. Thank you for watching, guys. Have a good one. Keep collecting.